As a Reiki master teacher for nearly a decade now, I'm going to take you through 20 creative ways you can use Reiki to enhance your life beyond just healing yourself and others. Some of the things I'll share actually have some science behind them, and there are things that not too many people know about or realize is possible. So make sure you have a pen or paper or journal to hand, because these are truly transformational and have changed lives, not just for me, but for my clients and students as well. So my name is Gwen Allison. I'm a Reiki master teacher, transformational life coach, a holistic business coach, and the founder of My Spiritual Butterfly. The 20 things I'm going to share with you today are things I talk about in my 2-day Reiki 1 course, because I want my students to be able to bring Reiki into their daily lives, not just reach for Reiki when they're feeling unwell or struggling. I call this creative Reiki, and it's not an official term. It's my name for this work. And it's a beautiful way to bring ease and the mysteries of the universe into your life as you begin to realize just how powerful you are. I'm going to go through each of the 20 ways you can use Reiki beyond just healing. I'll give you examples of how you would use it and what that might look like. So yeah, let's dive in. The first one I want to talk about is plants. And we can Reiki our plants. So there have been many experiments actually on plants. So there's an experiment you can probably find on YouTube where some school children are given 2 plants, and one plant they say really horrible things to, and one they say really nice things to. And the plant that said horrible things to is just really withering and dying after a few weeks, and the one they've said lovely things to is growing and thriving. There's always been this thing, right, about talk to your plants. But plants are energy, they're predominantly water as well. And so we can just place our hands on the plants. My house plants are thriving, and I'm not really green fingered, but I find when I've watered my plants and I'm just like placing my hands around the leaves and setting an intention to connect to Reiki, seeing that energy going to the plant. And then this is just for a few minutes. You don't have to do dry bathing or anything like that. You're just setting that intention to connect to the energy of Reiki. And then I really see my plants come back. And I've actually, one particular plant that they call it a money plant. I don't know what the real name is of it, but that at one point was just withering and dying, and with some Reiki it came back up again and it's thriving. And this is like after years and years and years of having it. So yes, you can Reiki your plants. One of my students even Reiki'd the lawn. She was walking in the garden in her bare feet and thought, I'm going to send Reiki through my feet. And so she was sending Reiki, and she said the lawn just looked more vibrant and really did flourish. So that's the first thing we can do. We can Reiki our plants. The next thing we can Reiki is our pets. So animals love Reiki. They don't have any resistance. So they are just really open to that energy, but they don't need as long, guys. They don't need a half-hour session or an hour session. You don't need to Reiki chakra, chakra, chakra. Just holding the pet or stroking it. Could be a cat, it could be a dog. I've given Reiki to horses before, and they really love that energy. I've also Reiki'd my daughter's, I think it was a hamster called Nutmeg. I think the hamsters, well, it did pass away. They don't live very long, right? So it could be a gerbil or a hamster. But at one point, it wasn't eating. And so my daughter was telling me it hadn't been eating for 2 weeks, and she was keeping this in her room, keeping this animal in her room. And so I just gave Nutmeg 5 minutes of Reiki, literally just that. And the next day he was absolutely fine and eating. So they don't need as much as we as humans do, because they're not carrying resistance and fears and limiting beliefs. I'm not saying they're not conscious, they're conscious beings, but they don't have that resistance. So 5 minutes, that's all they need. If you want to work with animals, if you're a Reiki practitioner and you want to actually spend more time working with animals, then I would strongly recommend you do an animal Reiki course where they will talk to you about the veterinary laws and things like that. So you have a good idea of how to treat the animal. They also will tell you about the chakras, but also it means that the animal welfare is first and foremost. So you don't want someone bringing you their animal and they haven't even gone to the vet to get them checked out. So if you really want to work with animals and Reiki, then do a proper course. Do maybe the traditional Reiki course and then do a Reiki animal course. But that's the second thing. The third thing is water. So we can Reiki our water. Water is a technology in itself. It holds information, it carries information, it conducts energy, it conducts electricity, it conducts our Reiki when we give our Reiki. And so there have been quite a few experiments with water. Many of you may have heard of Dr. Emoto. I talk about him with my clients, my students. So Dr. Emoto is a Japanese scientist who in the 90s did lots of experiments with water. So he would put the water into different beakers, expose them to different variables. So some things he said really nice things to, some beakers of water he said horrible things to, some were prayed over, some were not. But then he would freeze that water in a cryogenic chamber and look at the molecules under a microscope. And it's just amazing. I'll put a slide up of that, but it's amazing what he could see. So the things that the water beakers that had nice things said to them, like I love you, thank you, the water molecules look like beautiful star flakes, you know, really lovely star flakes, geometric shapes. And we kind of know as well the geometric shapes, they're like QR codes, so they hold information. And the things that he said horrible things to, like you fall, you make me sick, you can see the shapes are really distorted and really mutated and incoherent compared to the order of the other shapes that were said positive things to. So that's energy. And my Reiki master, Torsten Lang, he did an experiment. He went to Sweden, a laboratory in Sweden, and he had spring water, nothing done to that. Spring water that he Reiki'd and spring water that he Reiki'd and used the symbols. And the spring water, the water molecules are just ordinary water molecules. With Reiki, you can see these beautiful little starbursts in the molecules. With Reiki and the symbols, really big starbursts, really powerful. So he's actually scientifically proven from that experiment that Reiki works, but we can totally Reiki our water. So you could, you know, cup your water. If you've got a glass or a cup of water, place your hands around it, set an intention to connect to Reiki. If you know your symbols, you might use your symbols. But you would Reiki the water for maybe 5 minutes. It doesn't need too long. But what I've noticed is the consistency changes. It becomes thicker, more kind of, not slightly gel-like, but thicker, denser. But it's like the molecules are structured. And it tastes really refreshing, really fresh. So you're drinking that and all the cells in your body can receive that information from the water and the healing from the water. And not forgetting we are 70% water. Our brain is 80% water. So we're totally going to respond to that Reiki healing as well, you know? But this isn't about healing ourselves, but in terms of water, you can totally Reiki your water. The next thing we can Reiki, if we can Reiki water, we can Reiki food. So with food, everything is energy and everything is molecules. And there are a lot of cultures and religions that bless their food. They place their hands over it or they pray over it. And that's for good reason, because they understand it will benefit them. It will change the structure of that food and ensure what they're ingesting is going to give them all of the benefits, you know, and none of the side effects. You may have heard of Wim Hof. Wim Hof is a Dutch guy who, if you're doing cold water plunging, it's pretty much because of him. He kind of started that craze, really. And so he can stay in buckets of ice water for hours and hours and hours. And he's not freezing cold and saying, oh, how long has he got? He's actually going into a really deep meditative state. He's going into what's called gamma brainwave state, a really high frequency of energy that activates the pineal gland. And he is literally controlling his physiology. He's not cold. The water around him is warming up and he is able to stay in that water for hours. He's broken records for doing that. He has a breath technique as well that he uses, and this breath technique involves deeper breathing. If you do any breath work, you know, it's kind of a deeper breath that he's doing, but it's quite a fast breath. And this, coupled with this meditative state, is allowing him to stay in the water. Now, my point of bringing him in is because they have injected Wim Hof with E. coli, and within 15 minutes, it's gone from his body. And he's repeated that with his students. In 15 minutes, it's totally gone. So We can Reiki our food, we can Reiki that. And, as I said, we don't need to do the dry bathing. You can be in a restaurant. You don't want to do that in a restaurant. So you can be in a restaurant and you just want to place your hands over the food and just set an intention, that it heals and nourishes you. That's what I say really quickly. This food heals and nourishes me. And so we can do that. We can Reiki our food so we get all of that lovely energy out of it. But again, scientifically proven that we can affect what we ingest. You can Reiki your medication. So you get all of the benefit, none of the side effects. If you have a box of medication, you can Reiki that, or some pills in your hand, you can Reiki that. Particularly if it tends to make you unwell, then you might want to try that and see how that goes. You don't want to ever stop your medication without consulting your doctor, but we can totally Reiki our medication to get the best out of it. So that is the 5th thing. The 6th thing is travel. And I say this to my students all the time, particularly if you're a bit of an empath and you don't like being in busy public spaces. So if you're going to be traveling somewhere, maybe on the train or the bus or plane, you're flying somewhere, send that Reiki energy ahead, send that light ahead. See the bus or the metro or the train or the plane filled with this Reiki light for everybody's highest good. Always benefits us to do it for everybody's highest good. The universe really gets behind that. But that is ensuring that you have green lights, that you have a smooth ride, you meet friendly people, rather than going in there and being upset and, being surrounded by everybody's pain and suffering. Send that light ahead and then drive the car and then get on the train or the bus or the coach or the plane, whatever it is. And if you're going on holiday, I do this a lot, send it ahead to the hotel and you arrive and all the staff are wonderful. They help you. They might even upgrade you. You're not going to be the one on TripAdvisor like 1 star, so really use that energy, send it ahead to Reiki your journey, all of your journey. So that is the 6th thing. The 7th thing you can use your Reiki for is if you're into crystals, you can Reiki your crystals. I thought I'd have one to hand. I don't have one here, but they're everywhere else around in the room. But just Reikiing your crystal, placing the crystal in your palm, or you can have a range of crystals. You place your hands over it and you're setting an intention for those crystals, whatever it is. If it's rose quartz, let it embody love and pass that love on to the person you use it with, or whatever it might be. Yeah, so you don't actually need to put it in the sun and the moon. You're using the energy that created the sun and the moon. So you're filling that crystal up with that energy. So you can totally Reiki your crystals. If you can Reiki crystals, you can Reiki objects. So that's the 8th thing. My students use this a lot to get their car to start for the very last time if it isn't starting. And there are beautiful symbols we can use for that as well. The first Reiki symbol, chakra is great for that, for objects. And so they'll use it to get their car started, and then obviously they'll get the car fixed. I've used it a lot when I have printer issues sometimes, I don't know, but when my printer isn't working, I'm getting ready to teach, I've got to print out the documents and things like that, and it suddenly goes wrong and I'm spending hours trying to fix my printer, and then I forget about Reiki, and then when I remember to use it, instantly it's sorted, or it tells me what to do. Open this or close, and I don't know why I've been looking and I haven't seen this thing I need to remove or whatever. So totally use it for objects as well, particularly if you get anything and it's maybe secondhand, it's from a thrift shop or use a charity shop, and you just want to cleanse the energy of it. That's a nice thing to use Reiki for before you sell it into your home. Yeah. Speaking of your home, you can Reiki your home, the 9th thing. So I do this a lot and I encourage my students to do it a lot. So our home holds energy as well. The walls absorb energy of its inhabitants when we're talking about our home. So a lot of us know to use things like Palo Santo and sage, and I will do another video on that, on cleansing your home, because I think it's worth going into that in more detail. But just for the purpose of this video, yes, once you've cleansed with sage or Palo Santo is what I like to use, Palo Santo, you can open the windows, but you set an intention, bring that Reiki in. You can draw chakra ray, the protection symbol on the windows and the doors. You can use Seiki, the harmony symbol, to bring harmony into your space, and all the other symbols to bring in that oneness and that great bright light. So you're just filling up and shifting the energy of your room And people notice that difference. They'll come in and it feels so nice in here. The energy just feels so good. People can sense it. So particularly good to Reiki your home if perhaps there's been a death in the family, or there's lots of arguments going on, or there's unusual sort of energies that you're sensing in the room, or it's a new home. You've bought somewhere new. You want to cleanse that space for sure, make it your own. So cleansing your home, that's really important, I think. And you can do that regularly, or you can do it after the events I've just talked about. It's completely up to you. The 10th thing you can Reiki is your office space. So if you work from home, kind of what I've just said for your house, you can do that for your office space. And again, set an intention that you're really productive, that you make lots of sales, that you have great meetings, that's really collaborative. So you can put all of that energy in it as you're also bringing in that light, using your symbols and things like that. Do Reiki your office, particularly if you do work from home and you're doing something, maybe you're counseling or you're working with really difficult subjects and people who are going through certain things, then, you're in your home, you're in your space. Definitely Reiki before and after that session. Again, using your Palo Santo, using your sage, just to cleanse that air and create a line really between what you're doing as a counselor or a therapist and then your home life, So I would highly recommend that. You can Reiki your job, and I do this a lot and have done this a lot and recommended it to my students. Obviously, I work for myself now, I don't have to do it so much. But you can totally Reiki your job. So I have many students, they come along and they don't like the job they're doing, they're unhappy with what they're doing. One example, and I know she won't mind me sharing, is one of my clients was a nurse for 22 years and she hated her job. And, we kind of did this work during Reiki 1. We're going through the Reiki principles. We're talking about how else we can use Reiki and use our energy. And just telling her to send the light ahead to the hospital that she worked in, seeing the patients, the doctors and nurses, everyone happy and uplifted, just seeing that light sort of blessing everybody really. And then she's walking into that energy. And so gave her that advice to use her Reiki in that way. And then 2 weeks later, she emailed me, really long, beautiful email, telling me that she's completely changed her work life. Her partner's even saying, you've changed, what have you done? What's going on? What's happened to you? But she said that, she didn't love her job, but she didn't hate it anymore. She liked it, it was fine. And she was happy going to work every day. And she was starting to see the light in the things that she was doing and the people she was interacting with. And as an upshot of that, as the impact of that, was that she was then offered a job in a wellness center because she was a nurse and she had Reiki, but the wellness center wanted her to do Reiki. So she left on great terms. She left with this good energy, which I always say before we move jobs, if it's a job we don't like, we should really try and shift the energy, because we'll take the energy with us and it will be same circumstances, different people, but same circumstances. So she did that work. Sorry, the light's going in and out a bit here. But she did that work and got this job. She's actually had a couple of jobs actually now. And the most recent role, which she loves and she's been in for a long time, was with a hospital in London, St. George's Hospital, where she is doing Reiki. She's paid to do Reiki. St. George's Hospital have a contract of Reiki practitioners so that she's actually paid to do what she loves. So yeah, you can totally change the energy of your job using Reiki, sending that light ahead, and then you're walking in to that environment, that office, that building. Yeah, and it will start to shift things for you. The next thing you can do with Reiki, which is quite powerful, is you can Reiki the past. You can go down a timeline. We have a particular symbol for that, the third symbol we use. This symbol represents no time and space. It makes everything really, really present. And so we can go down a timeline and we can Reiki the past. So that could be something from your childhood. So you can do beautiful inner child work with Reiki. You can do past lives, work with past lives. You can do generational healing, ancestral healing with Reiki and this specific symbol, just to really send light back down the timeline. And that's really powerful to do. And I know many students who work with Reiki in this way on their inner child, and gradually, my neighbor does it actually. She's, trained, she's one of my students, one of my Reiki Master graduates, and she's done a lot of work to heal her inner child. And that's really, really helped her. So, yep, you can totally use it to heal the past. But it doesn't have to be about, your childhood. It could be something recent that you wish went differently. You can send Reiki back to everybody in that situation, yeah, for everybody's highest good. So if you can Reiki the past, you can Reiki the future. And so that's you kind of, again, if you've got an interview coming up or an important meeting coming up or a gathering or an event, you can totally send Reiki ahead to that point. I like scripting, so I might write how I want it to go and then give that some Reiki, but you can totally do that just to make sure that that future event goes a lot better than planned. If you can Reiki the future, you can Reiki your goals as well. So again, you can write your goals out, and I don't think I've published on YouTube, but I have guided a lot of groups through this as well, but I will do this on YouTube. I will actually produce a video on how to do this where you Reiki your goals, and I'll actually guide you through that ceremony so you can do it for yourself. And you place your hands over what you've written and you're just infusing that your goals with Reiki energy. So it's really beautiful to do that. And you can also write the Reiki symbols on to add more energy to it as well. Bad habits, you can Reiki bad habits. So the second Reiki master symbol is all about harmony of mind and heart and mind, thought, things like that. And so a bad habit usually comes from a void that we have, that we're filling with this thing that isn't serving us, whether it's smoking, biting our nails, worrying, eating foods that aren't great for us and things like that. Your habit could be anything. And so the second symbol shifts that. It brings us back to the truth, which is we are loved, we are enough. And when we know that at our core, we then don't need these vices to help us to feel good or to comfort us or to relax us or to make us feel loved, So we can totally use this symbol and work on bad habits. There are set hand positions that mainly work around the head and the heart chakra to change our thinking, change our how we're being and who we're being, what we're thinking about ourselves, the fears around it. So we can totally use Reiki to shift a bad habit. The 16th thing I've got clothes. This has been coming up recently when I'm teaching Reiki 1, where students are like, can we Reiki our clothes? I'm like, why would you want to Reiki your clothes? But then I understand now, because if you're buying something again, just like you can buy an object from a secondhand shop or a thrift shop or a charity shop, you can buy clothes from a charity shop. And I would strongly recommend now that you Reiki that item. So you're filling it with your energy, removing anything that isn't going to be serving you. And then you're able to wear that and it feels comfortable. It feels like you. So you can totally Reiki your clothes, even if it isn't from a secondhand shop. I know students have wanted to Reiki what they're wearing. So everything that's on their body has that energy. But I do feel if you're wearing it, it will naturally kind of draw in your energy. But I think particularly if you're buying something that's used by someone else, you don't know what the circumstances were, what their energy was, then you might want to Reiki that before you start wearing that, particularly shoes. 17th thing you can Reiki are documents. So you can Reiki your documents. If you have an important form that you're applying for something, it could be a job application, it could be a visa application, a membership you're applying for, anything, any document. It could even be a blog that you're writing, but we'll move on to that sort of shortly. But any document like that maybe might be a bit official and you want to make sure you get approved, then you want to Reiki that. And again, I would use the symbols. It's called the Reiki sandwich. I've used chukare, seiki, chukare, to add more energy to seiki, so that there's harmony in what you're writing, and someone feels that energy, feels that harmony, and approves you, and you get the job or you get the thing. You can also Reiki your creations. I used to do this a lot. When I started my business in 2015, my Spiritual Butterfly, I also, as well as doing Reiki and coaching, I also used to make natural beauty products. So I would make body butters and face oils and things like that, and natural room sprays and yoga mat sprays. And I would infuse those things with Reiki energy. And the feedback was just so beautiful. People would really feel something when they used it, as well as getting the benefit of the natural organic ingredients I was using. So if you're a creator, if you make anything, and it could even be you write things, you're a poet or you're a writer, whether it's blog posts or your newsletter every week. It could even be something you put on social media, a social media post, a story or a reel or whatever it is. I would just take some time, connect to Reiki, to be honest, before you write it, before you create it, and bring in your guides and guardian angels to help you create that thing. And then you'll set an intention that people really feel the energy of it and really resonate with it. I even do it with my cakes. You know, every Christmas I make cake. I don't drink, but I make a rum cake, a Caribbean rum cake, and I infuse that and ask that whoever eats it, they feel the energy of it. They feel love and calm and peace and harmony when they eat that. So you can totally, you know, probably going back to blessing your food is kind of like that. But anything you create, you can infuse with some Reiki, which is wonderful for the benefit of whoever is receiving it. Yeah. The 19th thing I've got, we're nearly there. It's finding things. This is a bit quirky. And I discovered this kind of a little bit by accident, but I was really kind of desperate to find this thing at the time. So I'd lost my glasses. I couldn't find it anywhere in the house. And we have a technique called Reiki in Reiki, which is guided by spirit, where you place the hands in gosho and then you place your hands on your forehead. You set an intention to be guided by spirit as to where to place your hands when you're working with someone or yourself. And so I use that, a bit of a twist. I'm sure the universe doesn't mind, but I use that to help me find my glasses because I couldn't find them. So I was like, I intend to be guided by spirit as to where to find my glasses. Put my hands up to my forehead, and instantly I saw my armchair, which I have a throw over. So it has legs, but you can't see under it because of the throw that's on it, the rug that's on it, not the rug, but the blanket that's on it. But I could see my glasses behind the rug on the floor. And I went, and lo and behold, that's where it was. I think I've done it for something else as well, but you can use Reiki to help you find lost objects. And as you get older, you do find you lose things quite a lot. You know, it could be your keys or your glasses or whatever. So you can totally try that, set an intention to be guided by spirit as to where to find this object, whatever it is. Put your hands up to your third eye and find it. And, you know, I'm hoping nobody objects to that, but I think energy is playful, spirituality is playful, and laughter. And, you know, that our guides want to help. And so that was a really beautiful thing to be able to do and just see that result instantly. So you can totally do that. And the 20th thing is guidance. Yes, we can use Reiki to help us through challenges with our physical body, with our mental health, our mental wellness, but you can also use it for guidance, as I've just said, not just to find things, but to find answers to questions you've been holding for maybe a long time, solutions to problems. If you're in a bit of a quandary or you don't know which way to turn, a bit of a dilemma, you don't know what to do, what your next steps are, then I would totally go into a Reiki meditation. It could be Gosho meditation. It could be Joshin Kokyuho, your hands, palms up on your lap. It could be the Hatsureho meditation that I have a video for, I'll put a link to. And so whatever the meditation is, you set an intention to understand what to do with XYZ or solution to this XYZ thing. And then you'd let that go and you would do your meditation. And then the answer may come in the meditation, or it might come a few days later, but the answer will come through for you. So that's like, you know, a wonderful, wonderful way to use Reiki for that guidance, to start trusting yourself and trusting your intuition. You know, you don't need to rely on outsiders, but you will get signs, you'll see the synchronicities. And that really, this is definitely how I use Reiki. You know, most of these things is what I use Reiki for. So they are my 20 things, guys. So yeah, if you use Reiki for anything else, let me know in the comments, or if you try any of the 20 things that I've listed here, whether you've had good results or no results, let me know in the comments. But also if you have any questions at all about Reiki, please let me know, and I will always, always answer them as best I can. So if you enjoy this video, please don't forget to subscribe, like it, share it amongst your community. You may want to incorporate these things into your teaching if you're a teacher. And please look out for the next video. Sending you so much love and light. Until next time, thank you.